If you're moving to Alaska, congratulations. This is one of the most exciting moves you're probably going to make in your life, but there are some very strong pros and there's some very strong cons that you have to be aware of as you're thinking about making this move. My name is Jamin Goecker. I'm a realtor in South Central Alaska with Keller Realty, and today we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of living in Alaska. For those of you who haven't done so already, do make sure you give this video a like, do subscribe, and let's go and jump in today's video talking about what it's like actually living up here in Alaska and looking at the pros and the cons for living up here. So the first pro that I'm going to give you is the summertime. Summertime is awesome up here. For most people who are considering moving up here to Alaska, they came up here, just on vacation and visiting during the summertime and got hooked. It is absolutely gorgeous, and it's great to kind of share our summertime with people who are coming in from out of state and really kind of seeing that sense of wonder and that just that awestruck look in people's faces and eyes as they're seeing all the beauty all the way around them. That never gets old. Now, that's great, and plenty of stuff to do around. It's not necessarily year-round, though, during the summer, but we'll get more to that in the cons, though. The next pro I would give is that there are a ton of outdoor activities, whether you are into fishing, hunting, hiking, camping, if you're into parasailing, surfing, paddleboarding, river kayaking, all this stuff, glacier hiking, glacier climbing, rock climbing. If you are into the outdoors in any way, shape, or form, chances are we either have what it is that you're really into, or we have a version of it up here. So tons of outdoor activities if that's what you're into. Number 3 is really going to be the natural beauty up here. And we kind of talked about this before, but yeah, it is just insane that you can really just take your iPhone and turn in any direction and take a picture, and that's pretty much going to be a postcard because it is just so beautiful up here. And you kind of start taking it for granted once you've lived up here for a little bit and you go down to the lower 48 and see what some of those other states have to offer, and it's like, okay, well, looking forward to getting home. Now, this next pro, it can be a pro or it can be a con depending on who you are, but there's nowhere near as many people here as what you're going to find in most other states. I think there's only like 680-odd thousand people who live in the entire state, and it's about 2.5 times the size of Texas. So not very many people up here. So if you're in a big city and you're just sick and tired of always having people underfoot, then Alaska is definitely going to be very appealing for that reason. Now, let's go and take a break real quick. For those of you who've been watching for a while, you do know that I host a podcast called the Alaskan Journey Podcast, where I interview people who have actually lived up here for a while or people who have recently moved up here. And it's great because you get to hear from people, besides me, talking about their perspective of moving up here and living up here. So if you're just trying to get a sense for it, that's going to be a great place to go. Link for that is going to be in the description section down below. And if you're looking at moving here as well, do feel free to reach out to me on my website, and I'd be happy to send you a copy of my relocation guide. Just make sure you put relocation guide in the little message box that you send over to me so I know what to send you. Now, let's go and jump into some of the cons of living up here in Alaska. Now, the first con I would say, just because I'm a very civic-minded person, is there are a lot of politics up here that I don't particularly like. And the reason that I say that is because we have a lot of interference from people who are out of state trying to influence our politics up here. And it gets really annoying because it's obvious, looking at candidates who, who's actually lived up here and who has the state's best interest at heart and who's just got a lot of funding from, some union out of state or some organization that's trying to influence our politics up here. So that's kind of obnoxious. Don Young, our senator who passed away just a little bit ago, was known for being pretty adamant about the fact that we can't even build a simple road to some places in our state just because of the outside interference with people trying to influence our politics and make a big capital case out of every time we're even trying to do something as simple as making a road. So that gets obnoxious. This next one is not necessarily the case for everybody, but I've noticed small towns, small states have a tendency to kind of make small people that really can only see like a very, very narrow perspective on their outlook on whatever topic. So this can be a negative, and it's certainly not the case for everybody that's lived up here, but I've noticed yeah, small town, small people, it kind of goes hand in hand. Not necessarily so. We do get some people who are very well traveled and, have seen the world, lived in other states, so they have kind of a broader perspective. But, there's definitely a little bit of that with some people. So just good to be aware of it. Talking about small town issues that you have, one issue we have kind of across the board here is there's kind of some corruption really in our local politics. And it's not even like it's really high level, like really well done cronyism or anything like that. No, it's just amateur hour corruption kind of stuff. It's kind of upsetting just because it's so blatantly obvious if you're kind of used to, as somebody watching politics, on what's going on. For example, we actually had our assembly just a little bit ago trying to grant themselves power to kick the mayor out of office because they don't like what he's doing, so they're trying to give themselves power to just kick him out of office. Obviously nothing but a big political play, and 100% illegal, and that's kind of the shady lowbrow stuff you can get up here sometimes. So if you're wanting to move up here, and even if you're not particularly politically minded, still a good idea to kind of keep an eye on them, because if you live up here, you have a vested interest. So at a minimum, just know what's going on. Now, last but not least, there is going to be a higher crime rate up here in Alaska, which statistically, yes, of course, that's going to happen. It's a much smaller population than what you're going to have in other states. I'm not completely saying it's irrelevant, but if we were looking at it purely from a statistical standpoint, we probably would have thrown Alaska out just because the sample size up here is so much smaller. Do keep in mind, Alaska is 2.5 times the size of Texas, and where most of the crimes are. I will let you go ahead and look at a crime map and figure that out yourself, but where the crimes are mostly committed are very select little pockets throughout the entire state. So when I hear people say they're not moving up to Alaska because of the crime, it really makes me think about, okay, if I was looking at moving to Virginia, would I say, no, I'm not going to do that because there's a lot of crime over in Tennessee. So that's how big Alaska is. So just some things to think about. I'm not saying just completely throw it out and it's irrelevant, but also make sure you're actually seeing the whole picture instead of just seeing like the little 10-word headline you're going to see from most newspapers and outlets that are just trying to get you to click on their content. So these are going to be kind of the pros and cons of living up here in Alaska. By and large, the pros definitely do outweigh the cons. These are just kind of things you need to think through and be aware of as you're considering moving up here. If you do have any questions, make sure you drop a comment in the comment section down below. If you need to reach out to me, doing so on my website, it's going to be the best way to do that. But other than that, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.